Ahmed Mohamed. You know that name because Texas. Irving, Texas, in fact. And look, I don't know the kid. I've never spent time with him. I haven't seen his electronic device in person. I've only seen the photos. I've only seen the photos that have been released, just like the rest of the damn world. Not only that, but I've also seen the slew of responses, seen and heard, the slew of responses to this situation. There seemed to be this small contingency of people who want to out and out discredit him completely without ever having met him, seen him, known him, seen his device, etc. Obviously, there's the opposite end. They want to absolutely admonish everything he fucking does, and obviously he's received quite a bit of A, notoriety, B, material reward, and he's getting various trips and invites to certain places. And that's all fine and good. And I think the reason why the admonish side is really the better side is because it's in response to what actually occurred. Look at the details. Don't look at the details. Look at the facts. You can go into the details all day, and then you can start creating your own narrative that way if you want to, and that is treading in dangerous water. Here's what happened. A 14-year-old brought an electronic device to school. It was claimed that electronic device was a bomb by non-experts. He was interrogated. Some might say interviewed, but he was interrogated because he was arrested. You're not interviewed if you aren't allowed to leave. If you're not free to leave, you are under arrest. If you are under arrest, any questions that people have of you is an interrogation. Not only that, he didn't have a lawyer with him. He didn't have his parents with him. He was interrogated without any kind of legal representation, which is not as good. That's not a good idea. Some might say, oh, it was on the school grounds, and we're trying to keep our kids safe. You know what? Fuck that stupidity. I grew up in Dallas County, where Irving is. I was arrested twice and processed twice in that exact county. Now, they both happened in Mesquite, which was my hometown, so they have different rules. However, despite that, my first arrest was because I had a sword in my car. The only reason they found a sword in my car is because they did a drug search for my car, and for some reason the drug dog marked my car. Not only that, that was the second time it happened. The first time, they didn't even notice the sword. I, forgot the damn thing was there, because I'm forgetful, extremely. So the first time, they noticed nothing. The second time, they don't even look back and say, hey, we looked in this kid's car last time, we didn't get anything out of it. Yet, somehow, some way, the very first thing they notice is the sword. So, because I'm on government property, and because I'm carrying a sword in my car, 1, unlawful carrying of a weapon. 2, because it's on government property, they doubled the fine. The bail. The bail was $1,000, then doubled to $2,000. I didn't have any way of paying that, and I didn't want to stay in jail for several days in order to quote-unquote pay for it, or wait until my trial. So I got the $200 that I had available, spent it through a bail bondsman, and you don't get that money back. See, when you pay your bail in full, you get all that money back, as long as you arrive on time to your hearing. You don't get that opportunity when you pay a partial payment through a bondsman. So, the second time I got arrested, actually no, that was the second time. The first time I got arrested, which is one of the reasons why I even ended up at that school that I was at, because it was an alternative school, usually for fuck-ups, or for people who want to graduate early and just don't want to go through the high school process. I was in high school the first time. I was coming home from high school with my mother because she was driving me, and we had been talking about me getting a car from CarMax. Now, the whole car situation is just retarded anyway, and I should have never got my hopes up at all, because that woman would have never given me a car, period. I would have never been able to graduate under her terms. I would have never been able to actually acquire anything. My efforts were worthless to her. So we end up arguing over this. We go to my grandmother's house and she just needs to get some duct tape. Apparently that's all she needed anyway. So I decide I'm upset. I don't want to go inside. Granted, I would like seeing my grandmother, but I don't want to be near my mother. So I sit in the car. It's a rental car. She's telling me to get out of the car. I'm telling her no. She's saying get out of my car. I'm saying it's not your car. It's a rental car, etc., etc. We get into a physical confrontation. She's trying to yank me out of the car. Mind you, this is the physical manifestation of her controlling behavior, hence why I don't talk to her anymore. Because of this physical interaction, because she's trying to yank me out of the car and I'm trying to push her back, I end up basically wrenching her pinky finger back as far as I possibly can because, hey, take your fucking hands off me, kind of thing. Well, I end up getting interviewed by a cop. Now, in all likelihood, it wasn't really an interview. He probably wouldn't have let me go. I was most likely under arrest, but the appearance of being interviewed is in many ways a way to control the person. To make it look like they might be able to go free is a psychological tactic that's used. Now, I know these things because I've been trained by police officers in the field of security, and you kind of have to know some of this stuff. Granted, I no longer want to be a part of that industry, but that's a different discussion entirely, and I've already made that discussion elsewhere. So what does this have to do with Ahmed? Well, the fact that apparently his science teacher said, hey, that's pretty awesome. Don't show that to anybody else. There are going to be a lot of people, and I've already seen it, say that he should have listened to his teacher because his teacher knows best. That's not the situation. The situation is probably that the instructor knew that there are a bunch of idiots in our world. And a lot of those idiots work at schools as teachers and administrators. And I'm not saying that teachers are bad. And I'm not saying administrators are bad. I'm saying we have idiots who are our teachers and administrators. This is also a post-9/11 society in America. Because of this post-9/11 bullshit, it's been 14 years, people, come on. A kid named Mohamed, who brings an electronic device that isn't shiny and pretty and it doesn't look like a fucking iPhone, is immediately considered a terroristic threat. His existence in the minds of many of my fellow American citizens is a terroristic threat. Let that sink in for a second. His existence. The kid was born the same year that 9/11 occurred. He just so happens to be Muslim. At least that's the information I'm aware of. But Muslims are just like Christians. They're practicing a religion. And in many cases, exactly the same in that they only go to church once a week kind of thing and aren't really observant. They're probably, and in many ways they have been, people that I've met, they express their religiosity, but don't actually really practice it. Now, this isn't, again, a judgment towards Muslims. This is a judgment. No, it's not even a judgment. It is an observation that I've made with many religious persons, Muslim, Christian, Jewish, etc. So, you have people who are judging someone based on their religion, their name, which is effectively a part of the religion, just like somebody named John is probably going to be Christian, because John is a derivative of Yahweh, Yahweh meaning God. And because of these religious tensions that have been effectively manufactured by who the hell knows, you have kids who are being negatively criticized, judged, and basically condemned because of their existence. And because of a few pieces of information that strung together in a supposed logical sense, despite the fact that your logic is based on extreme fallacy, because you're able to make this little box of information make sense, this person deserved everything they got. Going back to my own arrests, both times, despite the fact, granted I will argue still to this day about that domestic issue, both times in some sense, should I have been detained by the police? I don't question that. Should I have been arrested? I don't think so. Should I have been processed? Should I have been held in a fucking tank with who the hell knows what the hell's going on with those people? No. How old was I when these things happened? I was 17 one year and 19 another year. 19 when I had the sword, 17 with the domestic thing. Was kicked out of the house because of the domestic thing. I ended up living with my grandmother. Because I lived with my grandmother, she gave me quite a bit of leeway with everything I could do. I bought a sword the day I bought the sword. I inadvertently sliced my friend's hand open with his help, of course. Probably should have just got rid of the sword then. Kind of a bad luck mojo thing, but whatever. I made bad decisions. That happens. And they ended up on my record. And that haunted me for a while because I was arrested for doing something. Whether or not I was convicted didn't matter. Because I was arrested for a thing, I lost the ability to get an apartment in one place now. Granted, looking back on it, probably a good thing, but still, that sucks. Yet another place didn't offer. I went through the whole process, even paid the damned application fees, and they're like, "Oh no, because of this arrest." When I was 17, when I was technically a minor, but because of the nature of the arrest, it prevented me from getting a place to stay. So I had to continue looking for something, and I found something in my hometown. It wasn't great. I lived there for 5 years, hated my life. This shit follows you, and you've got people thinking this is okay. The reality is, it's not okay. It's not okay that a 14-year-old got arrested, fingerprinted, and processed for bringing to school a personal science project. Especially when the ignorant masses seem to be the one who have the ability to make these judgments and make these decisions. Not once does it seem that there was actually a person who, during the questioning, thought, maybe this is just a clock. Maybe we should just talk to the kid instead of treating him like what the fuck ever. You know, when you have the cop walk into the room and say, "Yep, that's the kid I thought," or something along those lines. Yeah, okay, really? The first time? Okay, maybe he was an asshole kid. I don't know. But that's not even really the point. The point is, the reason I'm making this podcast is not because of who he is. It's because of everybody else who seems to think that this was okay to do in the first place. That schools having a no-tolerance policy is acceptable because of some sort of safety-related thing. It's just like, well, I don't personally think that the TSA situation is acceptable. The fact that when I was coming back from Alaska, I forgot to drink all the water in my water bottle, had me go through the whole line again, is retarded. Yes,
That's retarded. I don't think you're allowed to say that word, you know?
Bad human. Whoever thought of that and whoever decides that that's okay to continue doing. You're a fucking Riri, okay? Because somehow, the fact that I had water in my bottle, oh, it's okay that you might blow us up, just don't blow up the plane. It has no logic. There's no logic behind it all. It's all fucking dumb. And the only reason I was on that plane is because that was my plane and I didn't pay for it. Somebody else did. Now, sure, I could have paid to go somewhere else, but in almost every capacity to travel across this fucking wonderful country that everybody loves, you have to follow a set of standards and protocols. You have to take your shoes off because you might be fucking having a stupid ass shoe bomb because of one dumbass. I'm surprised we don't have to show our underwear because the dude who had a fucking bomb in his underwear. Look, I get it. Things change over time. This happens. It's normal. It's expected. 50 years ago, if people had their purses and their luggage checked, they would have thrown a goddamn fit. I understand that. Nowadays, that's just kind of protocol. It's normal. It's the status quo. And I'm actually all for a more secure lifestyle. But I'm more for logic. I'm more for understanding. Look, I took what you might consider 1 1/4 classes when it came to electronics in college. Now, some people are like, oh, you took a class in college. What does a class in college typically mean? An expert in the field spends anywhere between 3 to 5 hours with you or more a week explaining and testing you on the material that they've provided to you. I got a 4.0 in my DC circuits class. I would have got a 4.0 in my AC circuits class, but I decided to take leave from my life. I know what a circuit looks like. I'm not necessarily sure what everything does because I hadn't gone that far. But it's pretty fucking easy to look at a circuit board and say, it's a circuit board. If you want a bomb, it's far easier. Far, far easier. Fucking fertilizer with a lot of nitrogen and diesel fuel. You can find that on the internet. You don't even have to be looking for bomb materials to find that out. All you have to do is click the right link that just happens to be a little bit off the normal path, if you will. Again, it's not even about the kid. It's about the circumstances that allowed all of this to occur. It's about the follow-up where you have people who don't know what the fuck they're talking about saying that it's not even a clock, that it's not a this, that it's a fucking bomb, that he's walking around telling everybody it's a fucking bomb, that they're supposed to be scared of him. The reality is, these people are scared. These people are petrified of the unknown, and they don't take the time to learn.